Today I just want to do a quick feature really over a game I've enjoyed playing the last week or so called Ships at Sea. Now, it is similar in a way to the SnowRunner video that I featured before. SnowRunner was really much more on truck simulation, driving through the bush and completing various tasks, that sort of thing. Ships at Sea, similar, but for ships. Very, very relaxing. In a way, I would say it's almost more relaxing than SnowRunner, especially seeing you can sort of set an autopilot, go for make coffee, come back and still catch your ship before it's hit the rocks. But I just want to show a little bit about it, why I'm enjoying it, and it's also going to be not a how to install or actually how to play the game. It's just showing you really what I'm enjoying around the interface and the weather and the motion of the ocean basically as you're playing it. So this is their website. I think it's just shipsatsea.com. I'll put the link though below. Their big claim to fame here really is actually the whole wave mechanics and the ocean, sort of the motion of the ocean. So, that is something that you can really get a good experience about when you sort of looking at the game. And it's got career modes, different sort of career modes you can follow. I'm at the moment still doing cargo offloading, and I must say you do want to get off the rowboat as quickly as you can. I'll also put a link below to the short little blog post I did about it, because I did put one or two little hints and tips in there, but certainly you want to get off the rowboat. The rowboat, you've got to hold the button down the whole time. It's very slow. You don't make much money delivering anything. There's no autopilot. So, as usual, you want to get away. The boat that I'm actually using at the moment is the very first one after the rowboat. So it is actually quite basic. And basic meaning it doesn't carry a lot of cargo, do anything fancy, but it's a lot more fun than the rowboat. Other interesting thing is they've also licensed with a couple of partners to bring, that sort of technology to the game, whether it's sonar, depth sounders, or whatever the case is. That makes the game quite interesting as well. And that obviously also allows them to use, more accurate representation of the instrumentation or the boats and so on. You'll see there's also a ship design involved as well. And that's basically it on the website. So I think let's just dive in and sort of see where I am in the game. Okay, so this is really what the game looks like when you're busy with a mission and you're in the middle of gameplay. You'll see the top right there, it shows you deliver 3 goods. That is the mission that you're busy with at the moment. And if you look on the back of my boat, you can see there is the cargo. Ew. It says, 3 of 3. Oh, it's 2 small brown boxes and 1 blue box. That's right. So there it is. There's me busy driving, piloting, and you'll see what I mean by the sort of the motion. Okay, at the moment the sea is not too, the swell's not too high, although you can see the waves there. And I just love, look at the back, just look at the detail coming out the rear of the boat. There's this diesel smoke at the bottom, back right. And I mean, you can see if you go a bit lower down, you can see what the wave and the swell actually looks like and how the boat sort of moves over it. Quite incredible. So yeah, you can zoom out, and basically with your V key you can change view to inside the cabin, or first person should I say, or the sort of third person view. On the left, this is the HUD at the moment. You'll see also I've got Mango HUD running at the top, showing you the GPU stats, and we're running at a pretty solid 60 frames a second. This game is working very well under Linux. I'm using that Proton compatibility layer. Top right is another sort of a HUD overlay there, which is Steam's own one. You'll see it also shows 62 frames per second with a 16 millisecond or so response. Like I said, buttery smooth. I'm using Manjaro Linux, and yeah, it's going well. So I really just want to show, as I said, more like what the game looks and feels like, not a sort of a real detailed how-to or anything. What really gets me is like the sound effects, the sort of motion of the ocean that you're seeing, and things like just the detail. If you look at the foam on the swell and on the waves and everything, it's really, really, really quite impressive actually. especially as a sort of an early access game. So I'm just going to show a little bit of the basic sort of play of it. As I said, bottom left is the map on the HUD. You've got the rudder control in the middle. I've got it on auto rudder, so it's centering automatically all the time. The movement that you're seeing is the waves and so on, but also the autopilot that is controlling it to keep it on course. You've got your fuel gauge, your damage. Damage at the moment, mostly for me, has been docking, you know, when you bump against the dock. You can see the engine power there at 100%. And the speed on the far right. The green icon showing nav is indicating the autopilot is actually on, and if I hit P, you can see it goes off, it goes into standby, and it goes back onto on mode again. And I can just show you quickly how you'll have a look. If you press M for the map, there's the map. I'm busy at the moment moving from this one light or this port over here, and I'm moving up to this port over here. And all you really do is you're clicking these points on the map to set where you want to go. And this is quite important because when you're far out to sea, you can't see anything. There's no landmarks. So, you know, the question is, you're going to get, well, you wouldn't get lost, but you're going to waste a lot of time. The other thing that's a bit sort of worrying, well, not worrying, but the fact is that some of these locations, if I click like the next place here, I think that's the actual port. So let me just see if I can click another waypoint. There we go, I can. Sometimes I found it doesn't want to do it over very shallow ground, which might be some of this color over here, and you've sometimes got to sort of stop your route there, and then you've got to sort of navigate manually through and then carry on with your route. That's just been a bit of an issue sometimes, which I don't think it really should do that. It should sort of go wherever you're telling it to go. You've also got filters here to turn various things on and off. You know, if you want to see fisheries or refuel stations or whatever the case is. And yeah, there's actually quite a bit. I haven't even explored this part over here. I've really only been moving around here at the moment. So yeah, that's the map. And as long as you're pointing on or towards the route, you can hit the autopilot and it should sort of keep you going. So better than the rowboat. The problem with the rowboat was that you had to hold the button down the whole time to row. So as soon as possible you want to get into a motorized boat. This is the very base one actually, and you can set up like autopilot, go make a cup of coffee, come back, and you shouldn't have hit any rocks if it's doing what it's supposed to do. Let me just take that one HUD off top, the Mango HUD. Then also at the top you'll see there it says 4 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature, and there's a 3-knot current from the right or the starboard side. And the time there is 0450. Now I'm not sure, I think that is 0450 in the morning. I gather in Norway, that this is set in Norway, that the days can be very long or the nights can be very long depending on the season. So that is sort of the thing. Look at that swell. Does that not impress you? Oh, I love the swell. So let's go inside the cabin and look around. I'm in drive mode at the moment, which means if I'm hitting my WASD keys, I'm basically speeding up, slowing down, or moving my rudder to left or to right. I can't yet interact with the coffee, which I really would like to do, but okay, we haven't, you know, this is one of those things. So this is sort of looking around the cabin. You've got your lights. There's a little dot there right in the center of the screen, which is your sort of aiming point. And if I hit the letter N now, I would turn the lanterns off outside, the navigation lanterns. You know, there's the interior light on or off, and you can see it over here when I turn it on and off. You've got your work light for the deck at the back, and your searchlight for the front, and your wipers as well if you need them. Then you can use your right mouse button to zoom in a bit. This is the radio, but this is like the music radio, so you can have it on. It's going to play basically music. You can still interact with these keys as well if you want to. Turn the volume up. You can change the source as well. You can actually put your own URLs in as well to stream your own music if you want to, so that's sort of quite interesting. You've got a compass. You can also interact with the throttle levers. I mean, if I was to use E here, there you can actually control them independently. You've also got a marine searchlight. It doesn't seem to be working on this on this ship actually, or this boat, but I imagine that's what you're going to use. You'll toggle it around. You can turn your engine on and off there. You can do the horn. This is your autopilot. I haven't really used these controls much. I'm generally sort of just turning it on or off with the letter P at the moment, but you've got some controls. You can check your fuel, your speed. The VHS radio, I understand, in the future is going to be interactable, so at the moment you can't really do anything with it. And if you want to, oh, you've also got your logbook, and this is going to see where your player progress and so on is. Under your company, you can go and have a look at things like the missions. I'm on this mission at the moment. You can see what the payment is and the experience level I'm going to get. This is where you can cancel your mission if you want. There are various other missions, like I could also go and do this boat in distress if I wanted to. Just bear in mind, don't waste time. I know I thought I had plenty of time and I was starting to mess around with speed up and rest things, and by mistake I must have rested for an hour and I lost that mission because I didn't finish it within the 12 hours. I was about literally 30 minutes short of it. So yes, be careful with that. Don't experiment too much. A lot of those things are going to become operable in the future. There's a lot more detail they'll be building into the game. So some of it at the moment is not going to make a difference, but in the future it can. So I'm on this cargo boat. It literally is a tier 1, the lowest level, but you can, at least, like I said, you've got an autopilot. You can set and then go and make coffee and come back to. You can load multiple pieces of extra small and small cargo on it, so it's really worth getting to it as soon as you can. Crew at the moment, you can hire crew, but they don't do anything. You can't assign them to really anything. That's again also coming in the game, so that's going to be quite interesting. The skill level, you'll see there I've got one available point at the moment. You get these points as you're playing through the game, and you want to apply them to these various things, like to, you know, have more cargo slots, or be more economic in your driving or piloting, crewmates, enlarging the boat's inventory. Some of these things you'll see, for example, are going to be coming later during early access or after early access. That's the general ones. The engineer ones are also quite important. In fact, I think the ones people said you should start with, I'm not seeing over here at the moment, but engineering is quite important. The basic engineer to carry out repairs at sea. And you can do 10% obviously on that. If you're a novice engineer, you can do 20% repair and up to 30% repair. Then there's also electrical faults, faster repair time, an oiler, fire safety. So I've got enough points for that at the moment. This requires 2 points. Then on the fishing side, I think this is what people had recommended. Go for the long liner skill. You want to get that. I've already done that. Maybe even the jigger, faster reeling, this sort of thing. This also helps you sort of earn money and so on as well. And then there's also deckhand skill. So small crane operator is also one of those you want to get, so that you can operate the small cranes on the dock to load heavier cargo and that sort of thing. Otherwise you won't be able to deal with that. And yeah, so that's it. So obviously you work your way up through these. The help is available during the game. You can, you know, look through quite a bit of this if you need to, and this can take up some time if you don't want to watch the waves going past, I suppose. But this is also being expanded obviously as the game improves and goes on. There's the long line fishing. So, you know, this guidance is quite important in game if you need to know, how do I do the long line, how do I clean up the harbor, and various other missions that you've got to undertake. And if you're buying boats, you know, what type of boats are there. There's the HUD display. Radar and sonar I don't have on this basic boat yet, so I imagine that's the slightly bigger fishing boats. And there's also weather settings. You can change these actually in game, so you can, you know, change it to rain and various other things, snow, whatever the case is as well. So obviously the winds are going to be quite important because that determines things like wave height and storm height. So let's just see where I am at the moment. I am actually still on my way, I think. Let me just check I am still on. You've also got to watch your autopilot. I better slow down a little bit because I don't want to get there and sort of run aground, if you know what I mean. So yeah, there's that. You can now leave the driver's position. If you press F, you've left the driver's position. Now you can actually walk around, and I can go on deck. I can see that. So this is where you'd be, for example, going to the back to go and fish if you needed to, or do bait, or whatever else the case is. But again, look at that motion. The motion is quite realistic, actually. You've got a couple of other things just lying around on the deck. There's your deck light, the back, or your work light. You go back in again. The important thing is point to your steering wheel, hit N so that you're back in driving mode. If you fall out of driving mode, your problem is you can't control the boat. So you'll see you've got the heads-up display. If you look bottom right, oh, look at that. We've actually lost our autopilot there. I'm not sure why exactly. So you want to keep an eye on that and make sure your autopilot is actually on, because that's pretty bad if you've gone off to make coffee and you come back and you've hit the rocks or something. Let me just see whereabout we are. We are getting near to the end, and I'll have to dock soon. Let me just put the binoculars on. So if you buy the binoculars, you can use that as well to see ahead and see what's coming. But now, of course, the problem is I can't quite see. I prefer to dock actually third person. I can hear the seagulls. So you'll probably see now as well that the autopilot will stop just now. Because, oh, there we go, because we've got to the end of that route. So the boat just carries on now. That's the important thing. I can't remember if there is an option for auto stop. You may sort of want that sometimes. But I mean, that motion is incredibly realistic. I mean, the rocking and everything, it all seems to work with the wave mechanics. At the moment, the sea is actually fairly calm. In fact, I've had much higher swells than this. Okay, so I'm going to sort of come in so that I can make a turn against the dock there, just to dock. So now it's just your A and D button really to steer the rudder control. You can also keep an eye on the map on the bottom left there of the HUD, heads-up display. It sort of shows you also where you are relative to where you need to be. And listen to that sound as I go closer and further out. So the audio is quite realistic. I'm going to do a sharp turn now for that dock, and I also need to slow down a little bit, otherwise we're going to come in too fast. The only problem is, as you slow down, of course, the boat also is a lot more sluggish with its movements, which I imagine is also quite realistic. Okay, I've actually overdone this a little bit. This is not quite the angle I wanted to come in on. Not at all, really. Normally, the sun is now a little bit in our eyes, actually, but normally you'll see there is a little marker there where the dock position is. And you don't want to hit the dock too hard because, as I said, damage, you're going to have a bit of damage. Okay, so ideally I'd like to sort of come in and then just move a little bit left here, because it's going to want you to be parallel as well. Slowing down a bit there as well. Let's bring it in. And then T for dock. You hit T and you have dock. That's it. Now what I do is I just go back into the cabin and I want to shut off the engine. You can just hit X to shut it off, or you can point at the dashboard there and just hit N. And there she shuts off. And of course you can press your horn as well, just to announce that you've arrived. Then, now what you're going to do is hit F again just to get out of the pilot seat. And you want to go and take your cargo out. Now, this is a 1-for-1. So I'm going to point down there, hit N to lift it. You're going to hit N to get off. And if I can just change the position again, there we go. You can hold your shift and you can run there. And you're just going to place it there. now you've got to do this really for each piece of cargo. So I'm going to fast forward this bit, because you really don't want to watch me picking each and every piece up and also figuring out how to get back into the boat. And when you put that last piece down, that's when you're going to get your results of the mission. Okay, so it's mission completed. I've got my experience points and payment and so on. And that's basically how the cargo missions really go. Obviously, you're going to have to deal with some other issues along the way. Certainly at these tier 2 and tier 3 type boats, you're going to be sitting with things like mechanical and electrical failures. You'll see there's also things like large cargoes here. You would have to operate, for example, the crane. Now I have got that skill level already, so I can actually operate the crane, and you can see the controls that have popped up in the top left over there. I don't need it now, obviously, but this is sort of what you'd have to do with the crane. So I suppose do I leave it like that? I suppose I can. Yeah, that's really pretty well much it. Then, you know, the only other thing is you would go to the office to go and pick up if there were new missions. And bearing in mind, you'd go to your home port if you needed to go back to the shipyard to carry out repairs or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty well much that. And now you're going to choose. So what I would normally do here is I would go and have a look and see where am I on the map. Where is my home port? It's back over here somewhere. So possibly if I want to head that way, I'm going to choose a mission that then at least takes me to, you know, one of these harbors over here. Get the mission, find which is going to give me the most sort of experience and money for what I need to do. I'd come back here again and I'd plot the route again. And you can just click once there to say remove that route, and I would plot the new route by just sort of choosing, you know, the route that it needs to go to wherever I need to get to. I don't know if they fixed this. I don't think so. Yeah, there we go. So you'll see here, that is still navigable over here, but it's now showing you can't add it to the route. It will result in a route over land. It's not really over land. Maybe for a a larger boat that's got a much deeper keel, yes, that possibly is so, but not for my boat really. So yeah, that's a little bit of an issue still, I think. Yeah, but that is it. Again, like I said, it's just, to me, the realism is quite what gets me. I mean, look at that boat. You can also, there's one other thing I just wanted to show you, especially with a rowing boat and one or two other things. You can also bring your boat in. If it's too far away, or if it gets too far away, you can actually go to your mooring point, and if you hover over where the rope is, you can actually say there, boat being pulled in. You can actually tell it to pull the boat in. So you can bring it closer to the dock as well. I mean, these are all the things you sort of pick up as you go along, really, I imagine. So I've got plenty to learn still. But yeah, it's just quite interesting. I'm just going to show you a couple of other short little clips before I finish off, just to show you what it looks like near sunset, piloting in the moonlight, and one or two other short little bits and pieces, and then I'll just round the video off, I think. There's not actually very much to show. It basically just evolves and evolves as you're playing the different missions and picking up experience. So let's just move on to those few clips. If there are a couple little glitches, that's actually more in the playback of the recording. I'm using the MPV app to do the playback of those clips that I recorded, and I see it picked up a couple of glitches. It doesn't look like that in the game. The game plays actually buttery smooth, so don't judge the game, please, by the video replay app. But yeah, let's have a look at those. Okay, well, those were the couple of scenes I really just wanted to show during the mission. It's not actually that easy because, like I said, it's quite a long time to play through the game. But I hope it just gives a bit of a taste of sort of what the movement and the feeling and so on of the game is actually like. Like I said, for me, it's just incredibly relaxing. I mean, just sitting and looking at the views and the motion while you're playing. And I've only really started, I've done about 10 hours or so. I really haven't even got into some of the more advanced missions themselves, but then also the scenery. You know, there's a lot more of the map to explore, and they're going to be adding a lot more as well. So certainly it's quite a fun game, I think, to play. And for people that don't want to do first-person shooters and, you know, all the stress of that, or motor racing, or any of those high-speed type adrenaline games, yeah, fishing and, like I've shown before, SnowRun are perfect games to play. So I hope some of you do give it a bash and just see. I know the reviews are a bit mixed, but I think some people are also a bit unfair because the game is actually in early access, so it's not really yet quite fully released, should I say. It is available to anybody who wants to buy it and start playing, but you know, they encourage you to give feedback, as I have done as well, about one or two little glitches that I have picked up. But yeah, great fun. So yeah, I hope some of you do find that worth trying. And yeah, stay safe out there. I'll see you in my next video. My next video should be another open source software product anyway. So we'll wait a while before we do another gaming video.